Well, it says I'm live. Gonna find out. There's nobody here to tell me. And yep, I got audio. Sweet. So there are people who might watch this video, except they're waiting for another video. I put out a video. Well, I put out several videos today. This is the fourth. The video, geez, what did I title it? I know what I titled it, but I'm floating a little bit. So who wants it? I'm floating because I got so much floating in my head that's what I intend to do on this talk, because this has been an interesting day. Yeah, an interesting day. And so that video, after it finished, it happened. Supernaut joined the live chat, and it's just over 40 minutes. And after the live finished, well, I'm used to then go to the computer and go to the studio and select public. Even though I select public when I'm setting it up on the mobile, it never, well, I shouldn't say never, but if it did, it's not in my memory. How's that? And for the most part, I have a very good memory on many things. And memory is something that I want to talk about as I float along here with some of these thoughts, because there's so many, so much, and I just want to touch on a lot and not dive in too deep, and just say several things. So the after that video aired, as I said, it just, no matter what I did, and I spent a lot of time, a half an hour, clicking here, clicking there, clicking here, clicking there, trying this, trying that, to make that video available. The situation was, if you didn't catch it live, you weren't going to get to see it. And so some more clicking back and forth, shutting the computer down, rebooting it, shutting the phone down, rebooting it, changing the settings from age restricted to not age restricted. You just try that real quick. That didn't work, so back to age restricted. And and it said public the whole time, but you go to click on the link I put up, and it's not there for you. So when it finally did, a little bit later, I come to realize that it cloned. And in studio and available for you is a video with the same thumbnail, the same title. And I'm thinking, well, I don't think I want to delete this because it might take the other video down. It's over just over 40 minutes. And it was a good talk, I think. But I age restricted it because I was showing cannabis and talking about it. YouTube seems to be okay with talking, just don't show it. That's just from experience. So, I'm thinking, well, what the devil's going on here? So then I thought, well, I'll just edit it. So I edited the title. Something's moving out there. Most likely a critter. All right, where was I? A video cloned. Excuse me. That video cloned. And I'm thinking, I don't want to delete it. Because I don't need the fuckery. If I delete the clone, maybe the other one's gone. So I go in and edit it, make it part 2, reset the time, and come to the computer and go to studio. And when I click on it, it opens up. It's a mobile. So I'm like, geez. All right, so I got to get the tripod and set up and do it mobile. Well, I get into studio mobile and no, it's not going to work. So I just abandoned it and decided, well, I'll put this video up. And so, yeah, I know you can only deal with so much Ethan in a day. And this is number 4, so it's probably one y'all be catching up on. When you do, maybe put something in the comments. There's some really strange things going on. What about the homeless people just disappearing off the streets in San Francisco overnight, and there's no video? There's no video. And there's not much talk. So it's reported. I find that to be very, very, very strange. Well, this thing was going on with my video not processing and uploading. I'm wondering, is this because it was such a good talk on cannabis? Was it too good of a talk? I think it was a good talk. Uh, that's probably why that entered into my critical thinking process. Um, but I don't I'm not I'm not convinced that's the issue by any stretch of the imagination. Um, right around that time, maybe exactly during that time, but right around that time for certain, the Rumble was down. Um, everything else was seemed to be just fine. Well, no, I'm gonna take that back. I'm not on a lot. I don't have a lot of apps, so uh, um, I know there's many venues that people are using, but the oh those that get the algorithms and have a lot of them bring some good knowledge, but have also I noticed I noticed some of those that I feel have gained credibility by large numbers are now putting some. Oh, I had a good word for it earlier. This is what I mean by floating. Um, giving some commentary when I mean he's got where he's gotten by giving commentary in his talks, but his commentary tended to be in line with truth and light that he was bringing forward. But now I'm picking up fuckery. I'm picking up little, and I'm so flooded with um, duties, responsibilities, um, owning my authority. Um, can't just stop. Uh, got I picked a lot of fights, didn't I? A lot. They needed to be picked. They still need to be picked. It wasn't too long ago. It was said that I think it's John Colt, but it's Colt, the Colt 45 revolver. It was said that made all men equal. Um, to a degree, that's true. For up close and personal, that's true. Um, but then you got to think about rifles, and and then there's snakes. There's back shooters, backstabbers. There's some real dirt out there. So this is why you got to be cautious, and this is why you need men. This is why you need men, good men, so that you can deal with that evil. And And I talked about growing up, and I feel like I feel like I really need growth is spiritually. That I've talked about that time and time again, what we've been robbed of. And the life experiences that I've had are mine. They're mine alone. Um, no matter how I describe it to you, no matter how I explain it, um, I'm not sure that you comprehend it. Um, because I mean, some of it's just a little bit out there, like out of body experience at a young age. Um, Having answers to what would appear to be very difficult or very serious, high importance issues that are a problem. Without expertise in the field, I step into the field, I'm exposed to the problem, and I have the solution. It, how do I explain that? And where does that come from? I don't know. Um, this is pretty much given me the life of a Sigma male. Um, I'm pretty much alone, even in a group, because where my the 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 vibrations that my system is working on uh, are not aligned with the vibrations of the vast majority of the people that I've been exposed to my entire life. Um, I've had some very good relationships, some very good long term relationships that were good, good people. Um, People that I could be comfortable with because they are good people. Well, people that I could enjoy time with. Um, but for the most part, I'm by myself. Um, Even in those comfortable situations, but though in those comfortable situations, it's generally there's something. There's something. There's a connection of some energy, some wavelength, something that is very much in common. Uh, that it's not that we're aligned. It's just that there's an energy or energies that are aligned, which makes it a comfortable situation with a good person, with a good man, male or female. Uh, so I can explain this in a way that is processed with my critical thinking, that I comprehend the way that I comprehend it, but I don't know if you comprehend it the way that I do. So memory. A lot of people have very vivid dreams. Um, they go to a dream analyst to to have their they go to mystics, and they well, you might know more about it than I do, but I think you get my point. Uh, I Prior to my out of body experience, I had dream recall, and to this day, I remember some of those dreams. But when I had my first out of body experience, as I have talked about a couple of times, somewhere in these 500 plus videos, um, it's not the type of out of body experience that I hear anyone else talk about. I didn't float, I wasn't looking down on myself. I wasn't looking around the room, seeing things that I couldn't see from wherever it was that I was in an incapacitated state. There wasn't those kind of all the different types of out of body experience explanations that I've heard over the years. None of them are like mine. None of them. And so it at that time of my life, one of the hardest things for me to say to anybody was I love you. To anybody. I was, well, I was irritated, you might say. Uh, I was baffled. Um, get dragged into church every Sunday. And the minute the doors open, the people getting out of the car that took me there, holier than thou. After church, I get in the car, close the doors, back in hell again. Um, this went on for years. And I'm I'm in adolescence. Hormones are raging and going through changes, and I'm not gonna go into details about what hell was. Um, it's not really important. I don't think. I think the fact that I believe that was part of what energized me to overcome that. And I didn't know how. I was a kid. I didn't know how to overcome it. And but I was learning how to fight. um I was learning how to stand up for myself. And those were some interesting times, and there was some incredible energy release during those moments that really frightened me. Really, really frightened me, because I I didn't intend to inflict that type of damage. And I wasn't fighting dirty, but true fighting is fighting dirty. And but I wasn't fighting dirty. And and it was an energy. And it was an energy. It came from emotion, emotions. In a way where you're boiling water and you don't have a pressure release. You better be doing some pressure cooking is what you better be doing, and controlling that. um but in pretty much any other situation, you got to let that steam release. Otherwise you're going to have unwanted situation. And that's what would happen. And that was troubling too. So I really shied away from fighting. um I spent my youth in the suburbs of Detroit as a skinny little runt that the bullies like to pick on. And I wasn't a fighter, but I was a runner. And I just had to pay attention to my surroundings. So I learned that at a young age, a very young age. Um, Paying attention to my surroundings, because I was the firstborn. I was the firstborn. My my brother and my sister, um well, they they would face bullies and close to the same age, and that went on for years. So more so for my brother, I fought more battles for my brother than for my sister. The need wasn't there. And I left home early, and she was still young. So at any rate, I had another out of body experience, and another over time. And I'm going to say, I think all of them within a year, less than a year. And I'm going to say no more, not even 10, but approaching 10. Whether it was 7, 8, 9, I honestly, I just, I don't know. I, I I'm sure it's over 6 plus. I'm confident in that. Um, and the thing is what would happen is I, it's not like I'm tired and I'm going to go to sleep. It's not like that at all. It's not like I'm stoned, high, drunk, intoxicated. It's not like that at all. Um, Remember, I'm Sigma, so I'm alone even when I'm in a group, in a crowd. Um, Not physically, but as far as that connection goes, that ability to just mingle and socialize is difficult for me. Um, in most situations, for any length of time, for any length of time. Um, so I would pass out. I, that's the only way I know how to say it. I just I'd be in such deep thought, in compilation of all the frustration and wanting answers, and I would black out. It's generally happened in the car, in my car. That's where I really remember it. I think it might have happened in my first apartment as well. And I moved out at 17. So I was in the 16, 17-year-old range when I was having these out of body experiences. I definitely remember them in the car. And uh so what's the out of body experience like? I can't tell you. I don't know. It's like going to sleep at night and having no dream recall. You just wake up and go about the day. Nothing to remember. No dream recall. That's what my out of body experiences were like. And up until that time, I had dream. I had dream recall. And now I'm having these out of body experiences. At the time, I had no idea what was going on. I hadn't read any, I don't believe I'd read any books. I don't believe I had any any persuasion, just a natural, just it happened kind of experience. And so having an out of body experience, do you come back? That everybody does, right? All the people that talk about their out of body experience. They're talking about it because they came back. That's why. So getting back there, I have some recall of my out of body experience. It's not a visual recall. It would be like an experience you had with your eyes with blindfolds on in the dark. And you have an experience. You can't see a thing. You got earplugs in. You can't hear a thing. You can't. There's no smell. There's no odor. No sound, no sight, no odor. Nothing physical. Not like being touched, being beaten, being cut, being, bound, nothing like that, right? Just, and you're out of your body. Where the hell are you? I don't know where the hell I am. I can't see anything. I can't smell anything. I can't hear anything. I can't touch anything. Nothing's touching me. But I'm separated. I'm having an out of body experience. And this is where my recall is. Getting back. And it always felt like I'm out there with no recall. And somehow there's a way back, and I'm on the way back. I have no recall until I'm at a certain point. It's like if you think of travel, that's the only way I can explain it, or time. Maybe it wasn't travel, maybe it was time. I don't know, but it in my head, it feels like travel. It's an out of body experience. I was somewhere else. Some part of me was out there and engaging, having an experience that I have no recall of until the point of, hey, it's time to come together. And then it happens. And then I wake up feeling a bit groggy, looking around, but I'm young. I got a lot of energy. And it's just like, oh, I guess I had a little nap. I didn't really give it too much thought because at the time, the first experience, the second experience, the third experience, I may not have had recall of it being difficult to return. But once I felt it, and then had another out-of-body experience. Coming back together took more energy, took more, I call it effort. I don't know how to describe it. Less than a smooth transition, and exhausting. And as I come back together and I'm no longer incapacitated, and my eyes are open, and I'm looking around, and I'm feeling absolutely exhausted, and I'm having recall. I'm having recall of that experience. But at this point in my life, remember, up until this time, I had dream recall. Well, the last out of body experience I had, I remember extreme concern. Extreme concern. It's very difficult coming back. How am I going to get back? Wow, this is difficult. Whoa, this is difficult. Holy fright, this is difficult. That kind of experience. So difficult. And having recall of that and the previous experiences of it being difficult, I said, no more. And I never had any more after that. Somehow I was able to shut it off. And I never felt like I had the ability to turn it on. It was just something that happened. So it feels to me, and has for decades, that the out of body experiences that I had, that energy that was out there having an experience without recall in my conscience or knowledge of in my conscience, maybe it was out there longer, maybe it was engaging with more energies, maybe it was traveling, maybe it was time, maybe it was distance, maybe it was time and distance, maybe it was engagement with other energies. I don't know. The only thing I can do is process thought on it, which I've done for a long time. And then, so I'm gonna tangent off for a little bit, and if I stay on focus, I'm gonna come back. Um, I've talked about the rewriting of history. The history from my life experiences wiped them. I'm not going into the details on that now, and that because I've already talked about that enough. This is more like highlight headline on most of the stuff, but I do think there's a theme here. I think there's a theme. Um, all right, so I was transitioning off of the out of body experience to talk about what? See, I told you I was floating. Oh, the rewriting of history. So as I as I have experienced time, many experiences of being wiped, I'm listening to people talk about the Mandela effect in the truther community. Now, I'm not going to claim that I can explain the Mandela effect, but I do believe that I offer an explanation, and you can take it or leave it. It ain't nothing more than the rewriting of history. They've been lying to us our entire lives about almost everything. And very much so on your spirituality and your powers in owning your authority, in being alignment spiritually. So, I've had these experiences where I step into a situation, and I stepped into a situation that I have no experience where there's an issue that needs some resolution that's important. And out of the blue, out of the ether, a thought comes into my head, and I have the answer. So this probably explains my you could almost call it proliferation with patenting. Um, it would be a lot more extensive if it wasn't so gang stalked and suppressed. Well, I gained a lot of knowledge in that, and of course that was in the system that's going down, and so remember I was talking about the Colt 45 revolver, the gun that made all men equal, so they said. Well, you had wartime. You had war times. You had war times. And that revolver isn't necessarily your best weapon of choice. And there are those that will tell you that there's mind wipe, there's there are portals, and I'll say I don't know the techniques is the right word, but it gets you on the path. Um, means of traveling into the future, traveling into the past, having an out-of-body experience, experience other dimensions. Maybe when you travel into the past or into the future, you're in a different dimension. I don't know, some really strange things. All this talk about aliens and extraterrestrials, all the stuff that Stephen Greer brings out. Um, I, I'm just paying attention because I pay attention to the sounds that are coming my way, and it tells me things I need to know. So I don't know what the answer is for us in the battle that it appears that we are in. Which I have talked about and given you plenty of information, documentation, so that you can study for yourself, you can research for yourself, you can critical think for yourself. It's interesting. So the all the people vanishing supposedly is reported. The homeless cleaned up off the streets. You can read about it in the search engines like mainstream search engine, DuckDuckGo, Google. But there, where's the video? It happened overnight, and it's apparently reported that locals that live there, they're not homeless, that would be in that vicinity have come up missing. So you got this group of homeless and another group. Where the hell are they? I don't have the answer for that. Why did my video clone? Why did Rumble shut down? I recently joined Truth Social, and so I took a look at Truth Social and at that time, and virtually every post on the T-Man's the T-Man's position there, everyone was double and posted 2 times. Well, scroll down for quite a distance. Democracy Matters gives the oh my goodness emoji. Hello, Democracy Matters. Sovereign Matters. That's what matters. I have I have the name citizen scientist. I was a pure slave. I probably wouldn't have used the word citizen, but it's what I did, and it is what it is. Call it a nickname or something. It's not an identity. It's not a person. It's not a corporation. It's just mm, the creator of the YouTube channel. And my website is Oral Health with Cannabis. And I thought when I proved scientifically that cannabis is essential for the good health of man and mammal, that all of a sudden a lot of people would get released from prison. A lot of people, their court cases would just get dismissed. And a lot of interactions with the policy officers out there doing road piracy would come to an end. Oh, but I was wrong. I was so wrong. And I had to experience years from late 2015 into 2020 before my eyes began to open. And I got that first red pill. And then my life changed. Wow, has it changed? So, look, folks, I got nothing for sale. Uh, I've been put in poverty, kept in poverty. Uh, I'm being denied dental care from what I'll say my dentist. That's what you would say. How you would talk about your dentist, you'd say my dentist. So Dental Clinics North in Mansalona and Birch Street Dental Care in Kalkaska, the village of Kalkaska. Both of them. My dentist. They refused to do anything. Now, Dental Clinics North told me by email years ago not to talk about oral health with cannabis in their office. If I do, I'm barred for life. So I was gagged. I couldn't talk openly and honestly about my oral health or my oral health experiences with my dentist. Management, no. So I didn't. All this time, I didn't. Back then, I went to Birch Street Dental. And while I was there as a patient, I had pictures. And I talked with them. I talked with a dentist. He brought over another dentist. And no, not interested. We're not talk about this. So I didn't. This was years ago. If you've been paying attention to my talks, the videos on Birch Street Dental Care and Humana, well, then you're up to speed on that. I'm not going to go into details because that's not what this is about. There's more highlights, and there's got to be a thread here, and I'm pretty well sure I know what it is because I've talked about other experiences that I've had. The ability to see things that I wasn't able to see prior to being given the ability to see, like the angelics and the demonics. And the experiences that I've had when I have these visions, or when not, I don't want to say when I have the visions because it's not me having a vision, it's using that lens. When I'm able to turn that on, or sometimes it just turns on. It's not something I really have control over. For the most part, I'm going to say no, I don't. I don't. When it happens, I'm able to engage, experience it more. Democracy Matters popped another comment in. What the first red pill was with a heart. Well, the realization that the examiner at the United States Patent and Trademark Office on 9/11, several years back, around 2020, when I was writing a open letter. I had only just opened a YouTube channel. I wrote an open letter, and in that open letter, I was chronicalizing events, dates, places, and what happened. And so I did my research to find the right patent attorney. I had previous patent experience. I had so I had all these experiences. So I searched out a biochemical patent attorney. And I didn't know it at the time, but he's a man about my age, so he's very experienced at what he does. But I didn't know at the time that his father was a patent attorney. He cut his teeth on this stuff, and he had he had it in pretty good. I'm going to say, very smart man, very well established, and he had never had the client for a cannabis patent. He'd never written a cannabis patent before. And once that final draft was sent over to the United States Patent and Trademark Office shortly after that, he has this man has a fairly large staff. His main office manager, I want to say, told me what I just told you. That was his first cannabis patent, and he was proud of it. At one point along the way in the journey, I started getting real frustrated because I'm having to answer really stupid questions. So, anyways, all these experiences go on. Now I'm writing this open letter, and I had received an email at the time that I did not comprehend. I did not comprehend it the way I do now. And that switch in not comprehending and comprehending, that was my red pill enema, my red pill bitch slap. You see, the patent attorney forwarded me an email from the examiner for my case. Wanted me to drop all claims and wrote a claim just for me that he felt would issue. So my patent attorney sent that over. And I said, essentially, I said, what do you think? And he essentially said, I'd tell him to pound sand. So, like I said, I did my research for this patent attorney, and I have patent experience. I'm not a rookie, and I have pretty good comprehension of what's been put together. I have the critical thought ability to make sure that I convey the right information, the right knowledge to the patent attorney so that he's able to put it into patentese. It's just another language. It's a language I don't understand, and processes, administrative processes that I don't understand, procedures, timelines. So that's why you pay for the expertise. That's what I did. He sent me that email, and I'm already in deep. I'm already in real deep financially and time-wise. I've done my research on this man. I know what that draft is. I think I know what that draft is. I think I comprehend. I think he's done a good job. I think it's a bulletproof, strong, very strong patent application. I ask him what he thinks. He tells me, essentially, he says, I'd tell him to pound sand. I said, okay, tell him to pound sand. So now it's years later, and I'm writing this open letter, and I'm still dealing with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. So I want it in the timeline because I'm chronicalizing dates, events, and who. So I know the examiner, I know his name. I know he sent this email. I know the patent attorney forwarded it to me, and I spent a great deal of time searching and not being able to get that email to recall. No matter what I put in the search, that email is just not coming up for me. And I spent days, not all day, but dedicated time over several days. And in frustration, I contact the patent attorney. I let him know I'm writing this open letter, and I'm looking for the email that you sent where the examiner wanted me to drop all claims and he was proposing a claim that would issue. I can't find it. Would you please forward that over to me? Well, it took some time for the patent attorney to send that over, and he never did. No, he never did. And so what transpires here is truly my red pill moment, because I found the email. I'm frustrated because I'm waiting to get an email from the patent attorney. This email that I haven't been able to find, and the patent attorney is not being quick to respond. Time is passing. I'm getting frustrated. So I keep searching. I find the email. The attorney sends me an email. Doesn't send what I asked for. He sends me transcript of phone conversations. Phone conversation from the examiner that goes to the office manager, communication with the patent attorney. I've done the talks on this. I've gone deep into this. This is when I realized that, holy shit, this patent attorney's been working against me since that moment. Since that moment, he said I'd tell him to pound sand, because I had to answer the stupidest. I had to respond to the dumbest things. That's what I remember. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what is wrong here? There's something wrong. And ultimately, I got a final office action denied. Final office action denied. Tell me my patent attorney was working for me. No, he just kept stringing me along, billing me, stringing me along. But I had taken other actions under NDA. I found a genius who was a cannabis guy, who was a scientist and a patent attorney. And so I got some very good information from him. And I conveyed this on my patent attorney. And then he told me that a very expensive phone call can sometimes fix situations like mine. That realization that from not having the comprehension that was an absolute attack from the United States Patent and Trademark Office examiner in collusion with my patent attorney from the time he told me I'd tell him to pound sand. Because the thing is, the patent attorney should have never sent me that email. Well, maybe. Actually, yeah, he should have, but he shouldn't have said I'd tell him to pound sand. He should have said, I'm taking this up the chain at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. They got a bad actor in there, Ethan. That's what he should have done. But he didn't. He just kept billing me. He billed me to tell me that his advice is I'd tell him to pound sand. Whether that was a phone call or an email, it didn't matter. The bill's coming. So from that point forward, he worked against me. And when I found that email, and then I got finally got the response from the patent attorney, and he sends me the correspondence between the patent examiner and his office manager, and I think it started the transcript starts with the examiner calling, wanting to talk with Reams, but he won't say what he wants to talk about. And he sent Reams an email, but he won't tell the office manager what it's about. So that's very damning. Those phone transcripts are very damning. And then my comprehension of the fact that the email, the claim, the single claim that the examiner felt that he would issue was a poison. So maybe I could have gotten a patent for a poison. We seem to be hearing a lot about that in the news too, don't we? Yeah. So now that I'll float back to comprehension, memory, Mandela effect, the rewriting of history. There are those that will tell you that whatever technologies that we have, those that we want deleted have technologies that are so far advanced we probably would have a very difficult time comprehending them. You add that into the fact that pretty much your entire life has been a lie, you've been enslaved, that been put into a low vibrational state where you've been detached spiritually, or you've been subject to weaponized mind control like MK Ultra, Mockingbird Media. And then there's those that'll talk to you about the extraterrestrials, the other dimensional beings, the angelics. You get your mystical, spiritual things that out of body experiences. For me, out of body experience is undeniable. Have I had visitations from the sky? Yeah. Have I been given downloads? I'm convinced. Um, how come there's no video? of the cleanup in San Francisco. What's going to happen next? So much light being shed. 9 military flyovers when I established, opened, and held court, high court, court of law, people's court, to prosecute the Kalkaska County Sheriff Patrick Whiteford, Under Sheriff David Wagner, Chief of Police Aaron Popa, Administrative Law Judge Lynn M. Boudet, Clerk and County Clerk Deborah Hill, County Prosecutor, I think it's Ryan Ziegler. 9 military flyovers. Now, you've got, if you've been following along in the truther community and you've been following along with me to research and study what Derek Johnson brings forward and what a few others bring forward in that venue, it's up to you to do the critical thinking. It's up to you to connect the dots. People want to say a lot of things like, well, do you live near a military base? Yep, have for quite a while. Never saw Black Hawk helicopter, gunships, just over the treetops, just directly overhead, just off to this side, just off to that side, and then down there at the court, when the boys from Pennsylvania were here, men that I didn't know. I didn't meet them till they arrived here. It's not like they were buds of mine. It's not like this was a man who's been following me for quite some time, 2 years my senior. And then his neighbor said, no, you ain't going alone. And then it's his neighbor who's the ex-military Marine, and his training picked up the assassin. And I've talked about that. Now, how did that happen? That's being aligned with Archangel Michael. That's being aligned with the I Am. That's being aligned with something that is not in this dumbed down demonic realm that we're experiencing. This is what I'm convinced of. I am convinced that we would be very well served to think about our spiritual health the same way we think about our mental health, the same way we think about our physical health, because I think they're all equally important, and I think they all work together in ways that right now we can't comprehend. We don't know. So there's a tremendous amount of misinformation, disinformation, low vibration, fear-based society, and the light is being shined. It is being, the big light is coming out, and it's getting over here, and over here, and over here, and you got all this information coming in I see that as a problem. I see that as a problem. So, also the ability to put thoughts into your head, that kind of technology, um, things that are happening with that is very, very concerning. So, for the most part, I think the thoughts in my head are my thoughts. Um, I do feel like I have been attacked, but I also feel like I'm protected, um, and have the ability to recover. Um, and I really have not talked about that. Um, Certainly not with not anything more than a mention. It's something I'm still very puzzled on. Very, very, very puzzled on. Um, See, I think we got another comment or two came in. Um, TTV time for tinfoil. Happy birthday, Ethan. Um, well, thank you. Every day is a birthday. Let me see. Democracy Matters said, wow, how is it legal to waste your time in bad faith? Yeah, time and money. Not just wasting my time working against me, robbing me, and thus denying you. Thus denying you. Uh, as I have talked about and as I have shown you, after that final office action denied, and that because of the other steps that I had taken, that man who under NDA had reviewed my patent at that time, I disclosed I disclosed some information that man had shared with me to my patent attorney. That's when he said, sometimes a phone call can fix this. And then ultimately the patent issued. And, but there's no product to market. Kalkaska is the cannabis capital of Michigan. Um, I had a shop in Kalkaska in 2013, 2014, 2015. It was there were a lot of raids happening in those years. I ran a very tight shop, and I didn't get raided until that was about 2 weeks after I had in my hand pictured evidence of my of efficacy of my cannabis formulations from a dentist that I did not know, on a man that would be her patient that I had only just met because he was a farmer supplying my shop, and he was listening to me talk about my experience, and said he talked with his dentist. His dentist said they'd give it a go. That dentist wanted to do clinical trials. 2 weeks after I have those pictures, here comes the state police and the sheriff. They raid my shop. They raid my home. All kinds of piracy, all kinds of fuckery. I've done so many videos. I've done so many talks. This has been such a journey. And one of the things that I have learned in recent time is that there, there's science that appears to be credible that indicates that the cannabinoids from cannabis, and there's 160 known cannabinoids that's been established for better part of a decade now. 160 known cannabinoids. Most people don't talk about any of them. And the scientific research is that when the cannabinoid reaches the cannabinoid receptor, there's an instant reset that occurs or begins occurring. So when people first experience cannabis and generally continue to experience with cannabis is short-term memory loss. And I'm going to say that I have said, and I stood on it, and I still stand on it. Once your endocannabinoid system becomes nourished, you don't have the short-term memory loss. Like you get up out of the chair in the living room, you walk into the kitchen and you wonder, why are you in the kitchen? Or you walk into the bedroom or the office or the bathroom, or you step outside and what the hell am I doing here? Short-term memory loss. It gets blamed on cannabis use. And I stand on, when your endocannabinoid system is nourished, that goes away. And you get the exact opposite. You get memory recall. You get many different effects. It depends on the strain. It in part depends on your mood. It in part depends on your physical condition. Are you tired? Are you exhausted? Are you jacked? Are you hyped? Is it sativa? Is it indica? Is it cured? Is it high CBN content? All these things make a difference. And how nourished is your endocannabinoid system? So when your endocannabinoid system is not nourished, one of the things that you experience is your loss of your equilibrium, your ability to balance. That's one of the things that happen when you get drunk. Or you're doing too many pharmaceutical drugs, or you're doing certain street drugs. Not everything that's called a drug or things that are classified as a drug will make you lose your equilibrium. But alcohol is definitely one. And people generally gauge that as a sign of intoxication. So a man that can down a fifth in a couple of hours and get up and walk without staggering, that's a man that can hold his liquor. And there are men who drink to be able to dominate that liquor, to be able to control that liquor. That man's going to walk out there. He's going to get his keys out of his pocket. He's going to unlock the door of his vehicle. He's going to get in, he's going to start it up, and he's going to drive home, and he's going to do just fine. Probably, in most cases, a better driver. In most cases, probably a better driver than when he's not intoxicated from a fifth of whiskey or a fifth of vodka in a 2-hour period. Why? Because, baby, he is focused. I mean, he's a man that's got sand. He can hold his liquor. He's not going to let that devil get a hold of him. Not like that. And his personality isn't going to change much in those 2 hours. Now, a lot of people drink. Some people get quiet. Some people get very talkative. Some people get a little bit weepy. Some people get riled up. Some people get very easy to get riled up. Some people become people that they are not. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of men, at least from that came up in my time. They drank. Well, sure, to have the intoxication, to have that experience, but to control it. Not to get angry. Some men drink and they become a beast. Some men drink and they get stupid. And critical thinking goes out the window. So your mind, the power to overcome things that affect you is important, and your spirit. I believe your spirituality is a component in that. And so there, as I was listening to this talk about how endocannabinoids, when they hit the receptors, they have an immediate resetting effect. And there's a reason for your short-term memory loss, and it's sensory overload. It's sensory overload. And so what the cannabinoids do when they hit your receptors, and especially when your endocannabinoid system is malnourished, you have short-term memory loss. And this is for a reset. This is a reset for your brain, which is a reset for your body, which is a reset for your health, your mental health, your physical health, and your spiritual health. But yet it's demonized because it's not explained. So the fact of the matter is, I don't have issue with short-term memory loss from cannabis. And I talked here recently about what is getting high. What does that mean? Because I had a brownie experience that I talked about. And what that brownie experience was a loss of balance, the ability to stand and move, to relocate without falling down, without needing a crutch, without needing to lean on something. So that happens when we've had too much alcohol, and The only thing that I think there's a couple things that override that, and that's a man that wants to own his authority, wants to be able to overcome forces that work against the better judgment, ability. So before he drank that 50, he didn't have to concentrate on how he got up and get out of that chair. But down in the fifth in 2 hours, that man's going to think about it. He might start thinking about it 10 minutes before he gets out of that chair, because he's going to go over it in his mind. Going to have that last drink, finish that last glass, have that last cigarette while he's sitting at the bar. If he's going to say goodbye to anybody, say his goodbyes. And then the way whether that's a stool that pivots or one that you got to maneuver out of, whether it's got a back on it, it doesn't have a back on it, whether it's got a foot, call it a foot rail. How are you going to get out of that chair without falling on your ass? Because you're just down to fifth of whiskey in a 2 hour period. Because you're going to own it. And you're going to rehearse. You're going to rehearse that. How do I know? Because I've done it a lot. I have the experience. I have the knowledge. So I can talk about it with conviction. And the only reason I ever thought to take that approach to drinking was from being exposed to men that had that approach to drinking. There's a party. There's 100 people there. But Joe or Jimmy or Jack, whoever, always in control. Stand there, drink you under the table, and be in control. That's a man that can hold his liquor. And so what is getting high? Because there's other things that happen when you're drinking, like I talked about. So it doesn't matter how much you nourish your system with alcohol. It pretty much has the same effect. It doesn't take a man or a woman very long to learn what drinking is, what their limit is, what kind of alcoholic beverage they like, whether it's wine, brandy, beer, ale, whiskey, vodka, gin. There's a lot to choose from. There's a lot to experience. Me, for the longest time, and maybe still to this day, I'm allergic to beer and whiskey. After one beer, after a shot or two of whiskey, I feel like the French army just walked through my mouth. And I get drunk on that, I'd have the nastiest hangovers. So for me, that was the worst. But I found the rum, Bacardi or better, worked for me. And then I really think the reason I drank the way that I drank was because of my toxic teeth, because my body needed the cleansing effect of that alcohol. Um, so I had an experience with the brownies that I talked about that I'm going to say I was experiencing more probably the time I gave the talk in that time period, not just that segment, that hour, that day, but those days, recent days in that that time frame, um, where I was eating 3, 4 brownies a day because I wanted to know. I wanted to know what the hell happened to me that night. And as I talked about in the talks, I figured it out. I was very sleep deprived, and but I drink coffee from the time I get up till the time I go to bed, and uh, I probably should have took care of business before I went to bed, but I don't think I was sleeping very long, a couple hours, and I had to get up, and I didn't have my equilibrium, but I think I was half sleepwalking. I'm kind of convinced of that, and I know that I experienced balancing issues when I had my eyes closed in prior uh, um, recent prior times with the brownies, because I when I had that experience, I was probably somewhere around 9 batches of brownies. I consumed a lot of brownies and really had no issue other than a little bit of a queasy stomach and um, wasn't getting the pain relief that I was looking for, even though they were well laden with the flour. Um, so I'm looking forward to processing the oil and making the brownies with the oil, because that is where I found many medicinal benefits, including pain relief, uh, massive pain relief. So the issue of cannabis being essential for your oral health, and the 2000 Surgeon General's report, Surgeon General stated you cannot be healthy without good oral health. And you've got the American Dental Association doing on average 15 million root canals a year, and every one of them is a toxic tooth. And according to Dr. Thomas Levy, a heart surgeon who finds oral plaques in the high pressure ventricle of his patients, it's his toxic teeth that are the cause of 90% of heart attacks and the cause of the majority of breast cancers, and can be a cause of virtually any inflammatory condition or disease. And since I've got my toxic teeth out, I've got 30 plus chronic conditions, diseases gone or near gone, or greatly mitigated, hopefully to be gone. And I said a long time ago I was going to do a talk on that, and I haven't. Uh, but I know that I will. Um, but now I've got this tooth that abscessed. I've got this toxic tooth in my mouth. I've been trying to get it out. Uh, I've been telling the dentist for the last couple of years, do you see any tooth decay? They say no. I say, I do. I don't. And then this tooth abscesses and I can't get it out. Not by a dentist. And one of them used the insurance. So I'm involved in so much. It's like it's ridiculous. It really is. And so I know I've been really overloaded, sensory overloaded, and I know my endocannabinoid system is has been malnourished. Um, not not to the point of devastation because I was eating the brownies, I wasn't having trouble, other than if my eyes were closed. No other issues. Um, but you can have other issues you don't want, like being really sick to your stomach, maybe to the point of you're clinging to the toilet or you're curled up in a ball on the floor and you don't have the ability to stand. Now that is a miserable experience. And for those of you who experience that, that's just because you had too much. Even if it was just a little teeny tiny little bit. For you, at that point, it was too much. Or it was too much at the wrong time. So this is where I've talked about how those people who are that sensitive to just the smallest amount, you can work your way through that by knowing your source. Number one, know your source, know what you have, and then working your way very slowly. And I say use a indica that has been degraded. So you've got the CBN. You do it an hour before bedtime, and you do it with food in your belly, and when you're with someone that you trust, someone that can help you if you need help. And what you'll find is you'll sleep through the night. You won't have, if you're having a balance problem, it's not an issue because you slept through the night. If you have a queasy feeling, it doesn't matter. You slept through the night. Um, so, but once your endocannabinoid system is nourished, those things go away. So, what about this dream recall? What about MK Ultra? What about, excuse me, as I usually say, if it's repugnant, you got to abrogate it. Uh, there's a lot of activity going on out there. But I think it's all right. Um, so I was having, I still and still continuing to have brownie experience. So I started eating 3, 4 brownies a day. Sometimes two. Instead of just eating one and then a time later eating another. No, I'd have two at one time, and then a few hours later have another one. I wanted to know, am I going to have unwanted effects? And I didn't, other than maybe a little bit of a queasy stomach. And if I close my eyes, issue with balance. However, if I was rested, and I closed my eyes, it was not severe. Um, I wouldn't want to walk with my eyes closed, but I could get up and stand and not fall down. So, okay. Well, after a couple of days of consuming 3 to 4 brownies a day, I come to the realization that I'm sleeping a lot. I mean, a lot. 6, 8, 10-hour stretches, then up for 2, 3 hours, feeling pretty good. And then all of a sudden, zapped. I go and I lay down, and before I know it, I'm sleeping again. So instead of sleeping 6, 8 hours a day, I'm awake 6, 8 hours a day for several days. So I got a lot of rest, a lot of sleep. And about a week ago, in my awakening state, I had a very vivid dream recall. I mean, very, like, I think full color. Um, if there was conversation at this point, I don't recall it. I don't. I've been thinking about it for a couple of days now. What was that dream recall? But it doesn't matter. The fact is, I had dream recall after all these years with no dream recall. So why did that happen? My out of body, from the point of time with my last out of body experience, I haven't had dream recalls. And here, what the quest to for knowledge with regards to the experience with the edibles, um, and ultimately what I'm looking for is pain relief. Um, I had this experience. So I'm back on more of a regular schedule where I sleep 6 to 8 hours. Um, Sometimes that's broken up, sometimes it's straight through, but I'm more back in a daily routine rather than in some kind of a slumber. But I will have to say, after that experience of all those fall downs, the next day when I woke up, I felt reset. My angst, my anxiety, my I don't know, pent up energies, pent up energies. Um, they were all mitigated. I felt a spiritual and a mental reset, and and I was hoping for a chiropractic reset, and that may have happened. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Uh, I'm going to say for a fact the hip has been getting better since then, and so I consider that to be another miracle. Um, but at any rate, I, I I I got all these seeds. I got an abundance, and it's ridiculous, and they're charging $10 a seed. People threw away the seeds. You paid back in the '70s. You paid $40 for an ounce on the street. Generally, half the weight was seeds and stems. You throw the seeds away. Yeah, very few people grew. Um, Now you get no seeds, and when you do, you get a feminized seed where you can have abundance. You can have abundance with your cannabis. It can be cheap as free. It should be growing in the wild everywhere. The birds should be consuming the seeds. It's feed, for Christ's sakes. It's food for you. It's food for the animals. Oh, so many uses for it, and so devastating to so many industries. I've talked about that. So I am convinced that there's going to be a great need for cannabis to reset your mind, to give you that short term memory loss, to give you that good sleep, so that you disconnect from the sensory overload, so that you can maintain your health, maintain your mental health, your spiritual health, your physical health. It's all so important. And so it's kind of like really the long way around getting there, of because the information is coming out. I think you're just seeing the tip of the iceberg, and the majority of the population is referred to as the normies at this date, November 20th, 2023. The majority of the population is referred to as normies in the awakened community, not the woke community, the awakened community. The ones that are looking where the light's being shined, the ones that are seeing through the deception, seeing through the devolution, that are grasping the continuity of government, the martial law, the alliance, the reconstitution, the martial law. 9 military flyovers when I opened court as prosecutor. Treetop level. Those were not training missions. They don't fly treetop level in training missions. That was because that was acknowledgement for the work done here. And those two men I didn't know, That could have been the assassin, but it wasn't. I believe that was Archangel Michael and the I am and the positive energy, the Christ energy, the high vibrational energy, the energy of good, the energy of righteousness, the energy of might that protected me. It's been quite quite a lot has happened since 2015 in the quest to see anybody stand up and demand oral health with cannabis. The T-Man gave you the right to try. Yeah, the cannabis. What happened to the cannabis? The freedom fighters. They were like uh, the revolutionary patriotic fighters and fighting off the British. Champion for cannabis reform. It went on for some 30 some years. Started out in California. What a mess. What a mess. And in 2015, I scientifically proved it removes calcified plaques. If it removes them, then it prevents them. I proved it rejuvenates gum tissue. And I proved that it is impermeable to acidics. Gang stalking, fear, fear, fear. Well, now the most recent experience with these brownies and the access to the scientific research that talks about how the cannabinoids have an instant reset, and that the reason that you have the short-term memory loss is for shutdown for sensory overload, and how important that is. So the ability to get a good night's sleep, it's exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. So, in my humble opinion, this is a war of attrition. This is more than just slavery. They got you in the shackles, got you in fear. They're looking to get you in here, and to a large degree, they have. And they want to take it to the next level. And just you are no longer a man. And you're a Borg. So it's a critical time. Wow, 4 thumbs up, 2 people here. I just been floating, but I know there's a theme to when I started this talk, and I think we know what that is, and that's your mental health, your spiritual health, the power of cannabis, and what it should mean to you. So I think going forward, it's important. It's important to know your source, know yourself, get your endocannabinoid system nourished, help you help you survive some of this. Don't let that short-term memory loss bother you. Consider it a blessing and enjoy it until it's gone and you're no longer dealing with that. And instead, what you're dealing with is good night's sleep. And for those of you that are so sensitive that just that one little toke off the joint just puts you over the edge, just that one little teeny bit of oil on or under your tongue and you're hallucinating, you can overcome all of that very easy. I've talked about that time and time again. And so the scientific evidence is undisputable for your oral health. The Surgeon General says that you cannot be healthy without good oral health. Dr. Thomas Levy finds oral plaques in the high pressure ventricle in 90% of his patients. The scientific research he got involved in shows that every root canal tooth is a toxic tooth to some degree or another, and that it can change over time, and that there's 2 to 6 miles of tubule in the root of every tooth where bacteria and fungus can fit 5 by 5 side by side for 2 to 6 miles, depending on the size of that tooth. And when it's in a molar, you got a dead molar, the immense pressure from chewing, Dr. Thomas Levy claims that's more effective than a syringe in delivering those deadly toxins, because he explains that they morph because there's no flow. When you got a healthy tooth, there's flow from that tubule out. So the tubule stays clean. It has a cleansing effect, and it pushes the bad stuff out, and then the body attacks that. But when the tooth is dead, you get the 2 to 6 miles. He says that bacteria and fungi morph into deadly, toxic shit, and that when it's in a molar, it's more effective than a syringe at delivering it directly into your lymphatic system. And the American Dental Association has no proof that a root canal tooth is safe. And they put 15 million on average. They do 15 million on average in America annually. And the American Medical Association takes claim to be the third leading cause of death for Americans in America due to medical errors. Prior to that, heart attack and stroke were number 1 and number 2. Well, if heart attack and stroke are number 1 and number 2, and toxic teeth are the cause of 90% of heart attacks, according to Dr. Levy's experience, and can be the majority of any inflammatory disease and condition, I guess that would include stroke. And because medical and dental is separated purposefully, and because they're both British organized and British run private member associations, and they all have British agents with bar cards telling them what to do, what they can't do, what they can do, what the law is, blah, 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 what their organization, all right. And then they live in fear. They live in fear. So they just keep doing wrong. They keep doing wrong rather than stand up and do right. And this is what's going to change. So when I talk about the technologies being so advanced, there are those that will tell you that the ability to scan you, kind of like when you're at the airport and you go into the scanner, something like that, the ability to scan you and determine whether you're a light being or a dark being. Whoa, baby. That, there's so much. I had a few more comments pop in here. Jack says, hello. Hello, you. Seem tired. It's my fourth video today. I held court today. It's prosecutor, Birch Street Dental. Had a call with Humana. Had trouble with a YouTube video. And holy cow, 2 hours and 15 minutes. So, I think it's probably a good time to wrap it up. Anybody got a comment or a question? I think cannabis is going to be very important for your health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your physical health. And I think it's very important for you to own your authority. So I'm going to keep fighting. I keep fighting for me, keep fighting for you. I love you. I'll be back. Bye for now.